from his home state of Kentucky, Republican Senator Rand Paul. Senator Paul, thanks for joining us this morning. You are going to deliver the Tea Party response to the President's State of the Union. Why is that needed? You've got an R behind your name, and Senator Rubio, who's going to deliver the Republican response.
I think it just shows that there is a movement within the Republican Party that's been very vocal. I think particularly in the 2010 elections, there was a big movement that helped us win elections. There's a lot of energy that still comes from the Tea Party. And while they consider themselves mostly to be Republican, they occasionally will chastise even the Republican establishment. So they want an independent voice.
Well, is that what you intend to do, to chastise the Republican establishment?
No, but I think really there are some things that I will emphasize that maybe Marco doesn't.
Like what?
Doesn't mean that we necessarily disagree. Yeah, well, I don't know. I haven't heard his speech yet, but I would say that there are things that I will talk about. You know, the president likes to talk about a balanced approach to things. We'll talk, for example, about a balanced budget and how that would be good for the economy. The president likes to say everybody needs to pay their fair share, which means he wants to raise taxes. I'll talk about the Republican message, which is we believe that you stimulate the economy by reducing taxes, not revenue neutral. I mean really reducing taxes, cutting the corporate tax in half, cutting the personal income tax, and the fact that you actually sometimes bring in more revenue when you cut tax rates.
Well, as you know, you're joined by fellow Republicans, some of whom are not particularly associated with the Tea Party, in your quest for what they call real cuts and not just cuts in the growth. I want to get back to Senator Rubio again, because you're both delivering these responses to the president. He was on the cover of Time magazine as the new face of the Republican Party. He has Tea Party support. I wonder, when you look at that and when you look at the Republican Party, do you and he represent different parts of the Republican Party? Are you therefore rivals? Who's the face of the Republican Party right now?
Well, I don't think anybody gets to choose who the face is or say that you or someone else is the face. I think we do the best to promote what we believe in. One of the things I've talked a lot about that there haven't been many other Republicans talking about is that we shouldn't send foreign aid or money to people who are burning our flag and chanting death to America. So I think I do represent a wing of the Republican Party who doesn't want to send good money after bad to Egypt or to several of these countries. I would put strings on the money that goes to Pakistan. I would say to Pakistan, you don't get any more money until you release the doctor who helped us get bin Laden. So there are some things that distinguish a lot of different Republicans. It doesn't make them bad or me right or them wrong. What it means is that there is a Tea Party wing that is interested in not sending money to people who are not acting like our allies.
Does it also give aid and comfort to Democrats who see what is clearly a split in the Republican Party, so much so that it requires two responses to the State of the Union?
You know, I think, to me, I see it as extra response. I don't see it as necessarily divisive. You know, I won't say anything on there that necessarily is like, oh, Marco Rubio is wrong. You know, I don't always agree, but the thing is this isn't about he and I. This is about the Tea Party, which is a grassroots movement, a real movement with millions of Americans who are still concerned about some of the deal-making that goes on in Washington. They're still concerned about the fact that we're borrowing $50,000 a second.
Right.
None of the things I ran on as part of the Tea Party have been fixed. We're still going down a hole as far as the debt crisis looming. And so we really have to still talk about spending, and we want to make sure that there still is a voice for that.
One of the things that is always sort of looked for in a State of the Union address is the fill-in-the-blank question. The State of the Union is what? What will you say the State of the Union is?
Well, I think it's still robust in the sense that we still have greatness as a country, but there's a lot of things that beleaguer us, and I think the debt is the number one. I think the debt is giving us 1 million jobs a year. The economy slowed in the last quarter. I really think that we have to do something about how enormous government is. And the way Tea Party folks see this is we see it as like our family budget. I have to balance my budget at home. Why shouldn't government? We don't understand all these other explanations. We don't understand all these people. The president's now caterwauling about the sequester. So are many Republicans. Tea Party people are saying the sequester's a pittance. It's not. It's just very much even the beginning. $1 trillion, and we're going to increase spending $9 trillion. So really, even with the sequester, spending goes up $7 or $8 trillion over the next 10 years. We're not even getting close to scratching the surface of the problem.
Let me ask you about some Kentucky politics. You have said, I believe, that you will support Senator Mitch McConnell, who's up for re-election in 2014. Do you believe he will face a Tea Party challenge?
I think it's unlikely. I haven't heard any Republican challenger come forward. I don't know, but I haven't heard of any challenger coming forward.
And I want to play for you an ad that American Crossroads, it's a Karl Rove group, a Republican group, released February 6th. And it's about Ashley Judd, the actress and the activist. She was quite active in the president's campaign. And she has been mentioned frequently as perhaps a Democratic challenger to Mitch McConnell. Here's part of that ad.
Ashley Judd, an Obama-following radical Hollywood liberal who's right at home here in Tennessee. I mean Kentucky.
When you see an ad this far out from a Republican group, it says to me that maybe Senator McConnell, who's the Republican leader in the Senate, is in a little trouble. Is he at this point looking weak?
You know, when I heard Ashley Judd might run for office, I thought maybe it was Parliament, since she lives in Scotland half of the year. But no, I think that part of politics is making sure people know about who you're running against. Ashley Judd's a famous actress. She's an attractive woman and presents herself well, and from what I understand is articulate. But the thing is, she doesn't really represent Kentucky. I mean, she was a representative for Tennessee last year. She lives in Tennessee. So, yeah, I think you do need to make sure people know about that so people don't think she's really from Kentucky or lives here.
And a couple of questions just on, we've got some confirmations coming up. We have the Lieu confirmation for Treasury Secretary, Hagel for Defense, as well as Brennan for the CIA. Are you going to vote against any of those men?
I'm most concerned about Brennan, and I'm going to demand answers this week. Senator Wyden asked, can they do drone strikes in the United States? And Brennan went on for 5 minutes talking about optimizing transparency and never answered the question. Until I get an answer of whether or not you can kill an American citizen in America, that's what Wyden asked. Can you kill an American in America with only the president's word? And he never answered the question. So I'm going to demand an answer to that question. But I also don't think, I think it's very unseemly that a politician gets to decide the death of an American citizen. They should answer about the 16-year-old boy, Alwaki's son, who was killed, not as collateral damage, but in a separate strike. They've never answered that.
Right.
I think you should be tried for treason. If you're an American citizen, you go overseas and you take up arms, I'm probably for executing you, but I would want to hear the evidence. I would want to have a judge and a jury. It can be fairly swift, but there needs to be a trial for treason. The president, a politician, Republican or Democrat, should never get to decide someone's death by flipping through some flashcards and saying, do you want to kill him? I don't know. Yeah, let's go ahead and kill him.
All right. So we'll put that as a question mark for John Brennan at the CIA, and yes for the other two.
Well, I haven't decided, really.
Okay.
Hagel is really struggling, and so.
Thanks. We will check back in with you later then on those. Thank you so much, Senator Rand.